What up guys, my name is Jeffrey from Inside Audio and today we got a guest video from our good friend Brent based in the UK. He's gonna review those two Eventide pedals, so let's get over to him.
Thanks Jeffrey. So today we'll be looking at both the Ultra Tap and the Micro Pitch, and I'm going to be running you through the features and showing you some sound examples using some of the guitars behind me. If you'd like to learn more about the pedals, you can head over to the accompanying article on insideaudio.net. Let's get into it. The I/O on both the Micro Pitch and the Ultra Tap is exactly the same, hence why I've just got the actual overlay here of the Micro Pitch. We have an input, we have a left and right stereo output, and we also have an expression pedal input as well for controlling things like the delay intensity, as well as also altering decay and things like the pitch even. We also have a micro USB for updates, and you can also download presets online. And lastly, we have a 9V DC input, which is 4.5 watts. Below we have two little toggle switches, where we can go between mono and stereo mode, and we can also toggle between a guitar and a line level input, for example, if you're using it for reamping or if you're using it with a synth. So for the purposes of these demos and the feature overview, I'm going to be using a Fender Strat that is going into both of the pedals. The pedals are going through a send return effects loop, then going into my head and into my Universal Audio aux box and Apollo, but there's no other effects in the chain other than the Micro Pitch and the Ultra Tap. So essentially, the Micro Pitch and the Ultra Tap are harking back to some of Eventide's most legendary studio rack effects. The Micro Pitch is based off the H9 harmonizer, and basically this is what made things in the 80s. That width, that really massive guitar tone, used by probably most notably Eddie Van Halen, and also used on a lot of vocals today, used on a lot of keys, a lot of synth lines. And then the Ultra Tap is more of a creative delay effect that is used in a sound design scenario, and this is harking back to the Eventide SP 2016. So the Ultra Tap is a little bit more dense in terms of its sound design capabilities, and the Micro Pitch is more focused on harmonic depth and almost modulation. We can get some cool chorusing effects out of it, but we can also get some really nice time-based effects, obviously, because it is a more traditional delay unit based on that 80s sort of analog circuitry, and the non-linearities that we've seen in those studio effects have been carefully sought after with the coloration and all of the analog goodness. So let's get a look into the feature set here. It's also worth noting that both of these pedals come with these really cool overlays, so you can start to dial in some of your own sounds from the get-go, even if you're not completely familiar with the pedals yet. And they also come with 5 onboard presets. So let's start off by looking at the presets. So on the Micro Pitch, we have our global mix knob here, and this affects the dry-wet blend between your actual dry signal. So if I pull it all the way back, we have completely dry, and then all the way wet. I actually find it a little bit difficult to play, obviously, because you have the full wet blend. So I would never use it at a full wet blend unless maybe in a reamping scenario or something, but this is it at full wet. So you do have to compensate for the pre-delay before you actually strum your guitar. Then we have both pitch algorithms here, and these range from 0 to 50, and let's alter these and see what happens when we go from the ranges. So we can hear the pitch increase across the octave range there. And then we can get a pitch down effect, and this can be used to layer things like kicks and snares to give them more depth. We bring these back to the center. Then the depth is our overall modulation control. And we hear more wavering pitch values on the tail there. Then second to last, we have our rate and sensitivity control, which is the overall feedback. And lastly, the pitch mix between the A and the B is essentially our main output level. So there we are getting the main pitch from A and nothing from B, and vice versa. Here we are just getting B. So one is pitching up and one is pitching down. Bring them into the center, you get a very multi-dimensional delay and chorusing effect with the two different pitch values. And it creates something quite sonically impressive. Let's head over to the UltraTap now and hear what this is like on, again, some of the presets, and then we'll also dive in. So on both pedals we have a tap foot switch which allows us to dial in a more intuitive value and rhythm. And now if we head over and look at the UltraTap's functionality, we have a very similar layout and some different controls. We have the same mix here with the dry wet blend, but then we have this taps here, and basically this increases the value of the taps from 1 all the way through to 64. Let's hear what that does in a musical fashion. So essentially what this does is, within the actual delay envelope, it increases the creative tap values all the way through to 64 taps. Then we have our length value, and as you can see, we have different rhythms on the front here. We've got minim, we've got our actual quarter note, we've got some semitones, we've got some actual more subdivided controls, but we can adjust these on it's not a stepped control. Again, you can sort of blend between them, and this gives it a little bit more freedom and sound design control. So let's go between these values again, but you can tap this in via the tap control. So we get a tighter spread there. Versus a very long note duration. Then we have our feedback chop, and this is really cool. We have different things here in terms of actual shapes. So as you can see, we've got some sawtooth, some square waves. We even have a swell mode, and around the back we also have a trigger, and this chops between different feedback shapes. So let's again just go through, change these, and have a listen. So this is no feedback chop. So it greatly shapes the sound when you increase some of the feedback and different chop shapes. Then second last, we have our spread, and this is the overall tap spread across the actual rise and the relative value of the stereo field. So let's have a listen to that. So a much tighter spread compared to increasing the value all the way. Lastly, our taper, just like the micro pitch with the A and B values across the top here. This basically means that we get one side of the taper or the left side of the taper for different tap values. It's easier to explain this one really whilst playing. Let's hear the micro pitch going into the ultra tap, so both of the pedals together. So to summarize, the Ultra Tap and the Micro Pitch are very new and innovative pedals. They are definitely pushing the envelope in terms of what's typical and the conventional use of delays and pitch shifting pedals. And we love to see that in the guitar, the synth and the sound design community, because it means that we are getting some new things and not just replicas of existing legendary pedals, because let's face it, everyone's doing that these days. So to have some new optionality with some totally new sounds is something that I personally love to see, and I know a lot of other people will really enjoy these pedals. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.